Good afternoon, everybody. I'm having a bit of a mare here. It's in a picture. For some reason my computer won't find my camera, so I've had to go back to using my phone. And my streaming service won't work properly. So, hello Martina, the new name, not seen you before, welcome. Margaret, can you hear me okay? Because I really don't know what's going on. Hi Doreen. Really not very good at all. I'm sure it's probably my signal and everything, but you'll just have to bear with me. Right. Let's see if we can get the apple. Hi Val. Can hear me fine, thank you Martina. Hi Nettie, hi Cynthia. Oh dear. Go and have a look, see if we can get onto YouTube. How are we all? Oh, let me turn those. I can't stand those little and it was all going so well yesterday. Sounds a bit echoey. I don't think there's much I can do about it, Val, to be honest. Margaret, to be honest. I really don't know what is going on with everything at the moment. I don't like those subtitles. I don't really want those. I can't turn them off. Hi, Bonnie. Yeah, that's because our clocks went back an hour over the weekend. So that's probably why. I'm just trying to get onto YouTube, so just bear with me while I see if I can just get my YouTube feed up. And my computer's just not playing ball today. So I do apologise if the sound's rubbish. The picture's going to pixelate because I'm on my phone and not my camera, so I apologise for that as well. On the bus to Inverness. It's a novel way to watch me, Margaret. Right. Let's just see if I can get my YouTube picture up, and then at least I know that. Right. Hi Tony. Hi Jean. Hi Colleen. Hi Erin. Sorry, Erin. Right. At least I've got my YouTube picture up. So the quality isn't going to be brilliant, but it was either go back to my phone or not go live at all. And I didn't want to do that because I've done all the prep and everything, and it's not fair to keep everybody waiting or whatever. So see if I can see the comments on there. Right. Fine on YouTube. Hi Suzanne. Hi Lorraine. Okay, well, let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best, because it's not going to be brilliant, but I'm going to have to do some investigation. My computer wouldn't see my camera for some reason, and I don't know why. Hi Connie, you're not late. You've not missed anything, only chaos. So let's make a start, shall we? So this is where we're headed today. I'm just going to move those magnets, otherwise they're going to stick to something. I'm not going to find them. Right. So this is sort of where we're headed today. Okay. I'm sorry about the picture quality. In fact, let me just see if I can move you up a little bit and see if that makes a difference, because the height was for my camera, not my phone. So let me see if I can just move you up a bit and see if that makes a difference. Oh, sorry about the jiggly jiggly. That's a technical term, jiggly jiggly. Right. Let's see if that makes any difference. Probably not, but it's worth a try. Okay. Hi Diana, how are you? Haven't seen you for ages. Hope you're okay, sweetheart. Thank you, Jodie. Hi, Andrea. Right. Okay. Well, it's lovely to see you all. And like I say, I am sorry about the picture quality. Hopefully, I can sort it for next week. So, as I say, this is sort of where we're headed, but today's is going to look a little bit different. This is a 7x7 card, and this was the size I wanted to do, but after I'd finished it and looked at it, for me, this looks a little bit cramped down here. And I just think if I make it a little bit bigger, it won't look quite so bad. Never heard what before, Lorraine? What have I said? I've obviously said something. I'm very well, thank you, Diana. Nice to hear that you're okay. Right. Okay. So as I say, I felt like this little bit down here was a little bit cramped. So I've gone with an 8x8 card. The working area is still sort of 7x7, but it's going to give me a little bit more room so that my leaves aren't hanging off the edge of the card. They're going to hang off the edge of the frame, but they're not going to hang off the edge of the card. So today's is a little bit bigger. Now, I know our friends in the US don't do big cards because of your postage problems, and you can do this on a 5x7. Um, I did have a 5x7, but I've moved it. Right, bear with. I've moved it and I can't find it. But you can do it on a 5x7, okay? And when I get to the part where you can adapt it to make it a 5x7, then I'll say. You could also do it on a DL, and then obviously this sentiment is going to actually fit onto your panel here rather than separate above it, because you won't have as much room if you're using a DL card. And obviously these leaves here you won't need, because the depth of the DL card isn't going to be this wide enough, is it? Hi Alison, no problem. We're a little bit behind. You do big cards, do you, Diana? Well, that's nice. This one will be perfect for you then. But I do know that postage in the US is pretty horrendous. So I know smaller cards are normally the go-to in the US and Canada. So just to prove that you can do it on smaller cards, really. So as I say, this is sort of where we're heading. The basis of the card will look the same. It's just the size will look a little bit different. Okay, so if I just quickly run through what we're going to use. I'm using the crackle stamp. You can see that in the background here. This is how I've done my background. I'm not putting it on a block. I'm just going to use it freehand because I find it gives me a better image on my card if I use it freehand. Who's saying about the postage? I do know what DL stands for, Erin, but I can't remember. Postage really, funny. Postage really isn't a deal. Cannot make large cards. Do not have the paper. Oh, I see. Oh, right. Well, I didn't realise that. I thought it was postage costs. So thank you, Bonnie. I've learned something today. Every day's a school day. So yeah, I'm using the crackle stamp, but I'm not putting it on a block. The sentiment for this card came from the Fabulous Fonts set. I have a feeling there are still a few in stock, but they're not many. So if you want that, I'd be quick. The From Little Acorns is the majority of the card. So all of this is mainly from this set, and this is just such a gorgeous set. When this first came out, one of my samples, I actually made a wreath on the card just using everything from this set, nothing else, and I was quite pleased with it because it really did look quite effective. So you can use them for anything. There are 15 dies in the set. You get your two size of acorns, and you get a top and a bottom so that you can do them in different colours, and your branches for your acorns to sit on and your little berries. So it's a beautiful set, and I know there are some still in stock of this, so this is still available. Acorn flew out then. I'm also using the large foliage. You know I love this set, and these two sets of leaves are my go-to. I adore these. One of the best foliage sets this has brought out, in my opinion. And then I'm also using the Anchors Aweigh. Now, when you first look at this card, you'd think, well, why would you use a set with an anchor on when you're doing an autumn card? Just to prove that although you might buy it for mail cards with the anchor on, you don't have to use the anchor. You can use whatever you like, really. No worries, Patricia. We started late as well, so don't worry. Thank you, Colleen. See, I knew somebody would know. Thank you, Connie. So yeah, I'm going to use the stencils, and I'm also using the die in the embossing folder, okay? Because I don't want to stencil it direct onto my card. I want it to sit proud of the base of the card. The sentiment on today's card, I'm using the scripted edges because the sentiment for me wasn't going to be big enough by using the Fabulous fonts. But this set I adore. I think it is just so clever. I mean, obviously you can use it as an edge on a card or an edge within the card, but I'm just using the actual die that cuts the words, and I'm using birthday wishes in out of this for today's card. Okay. And then my basis for the card for today is the nested stitch bubble squares. Now, I think the majority of what I'm using, there are still some available on Lisa's website, but I know that for some of them, there aren't going to be many. So if you wanted anything, go and look quick. The QR code is there for you to just whiz to the website if you want to. And you should be able to just have a quick look and see if there's anything that you want. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stencil the panel for the basis of our card. All right. Now I'm not using all the stencils because obviously I don't want the anchor, but I am going to go past that so that the shape of the anchor will be there. But once you add all your detail down here, you're not going to see that. So don't worry about it. But the reason I want to go to the end is because I want the end of the panel to match the other end. I want it to be rounded and look like a wood panel that goes all the way across the card. Are you with me? So, colours, we're going to start with, I'm just going to put that up there because I need that in a minute. I'm going to start with Straw Hat. And when I did this initially, I thought, I've gone too light with this. It's not going to work, but it did. and I just think straw hat is just such a beautiful colour. But I am going to use my stencil brushes because it's such a light colour. I think the Wonder brushes, you can't get the same depth as quickly, so it would take me a lot longer to use my Wonder brushes, although they're still fabulous, than it would to use the stencil brushes. So that's the reason I've gone with these. Now I'm probably missing some of your comments, but I will. When I said last week, I'll go back and I'll look at all your comments afterwards. I did try, honestly, but when I go and look at Lisa's live afterwards to look through the comments, I can see them. But when I go to look for mine or Claire's, there's nothing there. So I apologise if you asked me anything last week and I haven't answered you. It's because I can't see the live chat replay. So that's something else that I'm going to have to investigate. But if you've got any questions, just pop me a question in the group, or you can message me. I don't mind. Either way, I'll answer you one way or another. So Lisa's on her way to TV, and I'm not sure what she's going to be selling because I have a feeling that everything will have been really popular. So, especially when you're looking at all those gorgeous samples in the group, they're just amazing. We do have some clever girlies on our DT, don't we? Okay, so this takes a little bit of time, primarily because straw hat is such a pale colour, but I really do think it's worth the effort and the time it takes to get that first layer down properly. And you'll notice that on the big open spaces, I am doing circular motions, but when I come to these pieces here, because they are thin, I'm going in the same direction as those pieces of mylar, because I don't want to move them really, otherwise I won't get proper definition on the panel that I want. So it looks a little patchy, but don't worry, because you're going to put other layers on the top of this and you will lose that sort of patchy look. So that's number one. So you can see the outline of the anchor, but it really isn't going to make a great deal of difference when you come to the end product. Although it's there, it really isn't going to matter. So on top of that, I'm going to go with almond frosting, one of the most beautiful colours in this set, in my opinion. It's just amazing colour, and it's such what's the word I'm looking for? It's such a versatile colour because it's useful for so many different things. Now again, these strips of mylar are quite thin, so when you're adding your colour onto this stencil, number 2, I would go really quite gently, because you don't want to lift them. They're not going to tear or anything, but you're going to lose some of that definition from that stencil. So if you can see, I've got my definition here just appearing really quite nicely. But if you keep lifting these, you're going to lose a lot of that definition. So again, patience is the key, and just go at it reasonably slowly. But again, almond frosting's a lovely light colour. It's not a harsh colour at all. So again, your stencil brushes are the perfect thing to use. Because if you use your Wonder brushes on here, what you're going to do with your Wonder brushes, you're going to lift those pieces of mylar. Question. The natural wood grain. Yes, you could do. You asked me that. Bonnie. Yes, you could do. I just wanted to really to show that if you can't afford everything, but like you've got this set, and you wanted to do sort of wood grain, but you couldn't afford to go and buy the wood grain now, you can go and use something you've already got in your stash. Having a coffee. Okay, Cindy, I don't mind. You have your coffee, sweetheart. I don't mind. It'll always be here, hopefully. Right, so we're coming down to the last little bit down here now. And then when I take this off, you'll see how so worth it. That little bit of patience and extra time is well worth the effort. I've got a cup of tea by the door in my craft room because Graham bought me a cup of tea just as I was going live, and I just turned around and told him to go away. I wanted to turn around again, there was a cup of tea behind me, and I thought, oops. Okay, so there's my wood pan. I do love the effect that you get with these stencils. Now this little one here is just going to fill in these two little lines here. Okay, those are supposed to be on there. Now on my original one I went with burnt ochre, but I'm going to change that up a little bit. I'm actually going to use rusty nails instead, only because it's a little bit darker and not quite as yellow, but I am going to try and be reasonably careful not to go too heavy, because whilst I want it visible, I don't want it to sort of leap off the page. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to overtake the rest of all that stenciling that we've just spent the time doing. Now I am doing my circular motions here because it's the easiest way of filling in a narrow little aperture like this. You go backwards and forwards, change direction, and then you're going to fill that really quite easily. So we're just going along here, fill these in, and then these will stand out more than they do on that one. You can see, if I lift this up a little bit, can you see the sort of the yellowy look in the middle here? And I didn't want that for this one. I wanted it to sort of be a little bit darker. So that's why I changed the colour. Yeah, I prefer that. See, that's quite a different shade. I'm not using Stencil 4 because it's just got the anchor on and I don't need that. Now, when I got to this one, number 5, I did and ah about whether to add this piece of rope in here. And I thought, you know what, at the end of the day, see, that's this bit here. It's just going to add a little bit of interest to the other end of the card. So I went with it in the end. But he hates Mondays and Thursdays. About as much as he hates every other day of the week for the rain, to be fair. So again, I'm going back with my almond frosting, and this is the base colour for that little bit of rope. But I'm going quite heavy with this because on top of that, I'm going to go back with that rusty nails to put the detail of that rope in. Okay, now that's the only piece that I'm using. All right, I did think that I might just fill this in with a little bit of straw hat so that it wasn't as white when I come to hide all my other pieces. So I'm just going to go and add a bit of colour in there just to take off the whiteness. It's not going to matter that you can see an anchor shape at all, because I'm going to cut this out, and then, like I say, we're going to hide all that little bit there. So just fill that in. I'm not going to bother with this because I don't want this piece of rope on it at all. So that's that one. And then the last one is just going to put the detail on that bit of rope for me over there. So I'll go back with my rusty nails. See, I used burnt ochre here as well, but I don't want to do that. I want to use this rusty nails instead. So it's going to look a little bit different, but still as fab, I think. Yeah, like that. Like that. Okay, so that is all our stenciling done, really. Don't need that. Just need those two. Okay, so now we're going to cut that out and then we're going to emboss that panel. okay, because I want it lifting off the card. I don't want it to appear flat. I want it to have some life to it, okay? So I'm going to put this on here. I'm using my magnetic mat because I just want a little bit of assistance from the magnetic mat just while I'm lining this up, because I want it to be pretty even all the way around. I'm just going to add a little bit of tape up there and a little bit of tape down there, and then I'm just going to run it through. So bear with while I just run this through. And to put all my little bits on the floor because I don't want you to see them yet. And run that through the die cutter. And then we're going to emboss it. And then once we've embossed it, we're going to trim it down. Okay? So if I take that and my embossing folder, you can see which way round you need to use it. And then just line that up in there. It's really one of the easiest to line up, if I'm honest, but still worth taking a couple of seconds just to make sure it's right. And then run that through to give that some life. Okay. Okay, so there's your embossed piece of paneling. All right. Now what I need to do is just cut this level so that that's just one line. All right, all the way along there. So if I reach my scissors out, and I'm going to just chop that off there. I think I'll leave that bit because it's not going to matter. And then we're just going to go along here and just trim this off. Because you've got that line to work to, you can see where you need to cut it off. So I've left this little bit here just to give it some interest at the other end of the card. Okay, so I don't think we need that anymore. So I'll move that to that side. Bring my bits up there. Oh look, there's my 5x7 card. Honestly, if I got a brain, I'd be dangerous, you know. So yeah, the 5x7 card, this is going to fit, but it's not going to give you a lot of room this end to put your sort of floral leafy design on. You can still do it and you'll still lose all of this. And you can still get a sentiment up here if you wanted to, or you could put it a little bit further into the card, make it the focal point, and then because you've put in some ink in the background, your sentiment can go on your panel and your leaf split sort of spray here will be, it will have more room to sit. Okay, so you can do it on a 5x7, and like I said, with a DL, that's going to look even better. You're not going to have the same amount of depth, but you are going to have a little bit more length. Okay, so that was the 5x7. So this is my base card. Make sure I've got it the right way up. Don't want to put it on all upside down, do I? So the first thing I'm going to do is ink up this white panel here. All right, I'm going to take that out of the way. I'm just going to bring myself a scrap of paper because I don't want to go really onto my mat. And then I'm just going to ink this up with almond frosting. Okay, and you can see I'm not putting it onto a block. I am literally just using it quite random onto the card. And for me, I think it gives a better look rather than inking the whole thing up and then putting it down on the card. I just prefer to do it this way. You can leave gaps if you want to. It doesn't have to be all over, but it's a quick and easy way of doing it without messing around with a block. You can use first and second generation inks as well. I am doing the whole thing. I know I'm going to hide some of it, but if I do the whole thing, then I'm not going to miss anything, am I? I'll leave it at that. Now, when I did the sample card, again, I inked around the edge and I used burnt ochre. And for me, I think the burnt ochre detracts from the rest of the card. I don't know whether you can see it properly because of the screen, the picture. But for me, I thought the colour was not quite right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go round with almond frosting, and I'm just literally coming round the edge of this frame with that almond frosting, just to, I suppose, just take the harshness of the white frame away. Because this was sort of, my idea was a male birthday card, okay, which I think it works. But when I used the burnt oak around the edge, it detracted from it being masculine. I think that burnt ochre, whilst it's a beautiful colour, is a little bit more feminine. So I thought if I go with almond frosting instead, that's just going to tone the colours down and match them all together. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to look, to my mind, a little bit more of a masculine based card rather than feminine. Okay. And you don't need much at all. It's just a hint of a colour. You don't need to come in too far, just really going around the edge, just to sort of soften the whiteness and, I don't know, dull it down, I want to say, but I don't mean dull as in miserable. I mean just tying all the colours in together, I suppose. Okay, so that's that. And then I can put that on here. Now I'm not going to 3D this bit because everything else that's on the card is 3D'd. Okay, so I don't need really to lift this at all. So this is going to go down flat. And apart from anything else, it's quicker rather than sitting here putting all those little 3D pads on. But we'll glue it flat and then it takes a little bit less time. And I'm not going in the middle because sometimes when you're using a wet glue, you'll get sort of a line on your card that will show through, which is the line of glue. It will disappear, but I just prefer to go round the edge. Don't think, particularly with Lisa's glue, you don't need a great deal anyway, so I think that's perfect. Right, I'm going to leave that in a minute. I'll just leave it to one side. Okay, so there's my sort of basis, similar to what's on here. Now this fits like a glove, just on there like that. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap at the bottom, slightly more than I've left on here, primarily for the reason that I said at the beginning. I felt it looked a little bit too overcrowded in that one space. But what I do want to do is make sure that I can put my sentimental here and it not look squashed. Okay, so I've cut the birthday and the wishes. I can just find the wishes. Where's it gone? There it is. And I've cut it in brown, and then I've drop shadowed it with orange, just to lift it from the card. Okay. So I think that's going to be about right. In fact, I could probably put the sentiment down before we go any further, and then I know that's right then. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I want to leave a little bit more gap down here than I did on the first one. So that's why I wanted to just test the where the sentiment goes first. So I think if we put it down, it's done, it's out of the way, and I haven't got to worry about it again. crackle stamp is one of those useful things that I could never be without now, because it's just such a clever stamp. I mean, a lot of what Lisa does is extremely clever, but that one, and what's the other one? Oh, the bubble wrap. That's the same. I love that one as well. So I'm just put my glue on here, and again I'm using Lisa's glue. I've decanted some into a smaller bottle, but it's the only glue I use now because it is so fantastic. You don't need a great deal, and it goes such a long way. It'll last you for ages, but it is spot on. So I'll just put this little wishes down, and then we can move on to organising our leafy spray of decoration in the corner. Okay, I did all this ahead of time so that I wasn't sort of sitting here putting stuff together, because it does take a while and it can be a bit fiddly. So let's see if I'll make it straight, Dawn. That's about right. Don't really like wonky sentiments, so I do try to get it straight. Now I think that little bit of orange on that as a drop shadow just lifts that sentiment off that card. I just think it makes such a difference. So small detail does make quite a lot of difference. So I am going to put 3D pads on the back of this, because when I come to work on it and put these leaves down, I don't want it to sort of squash down, which it will if I use 3D glue gel. So we're using pads. I'm glad you've learned something, Connie. It's nice that I actually sit here and say sensible things. I have been known to just sit and waffle and say a load of not sensible things, for want of a better phrase. Right, so let's just whip these backs off these pads. Doesn't take long at all, this bit. You've done all the hard work with your stenciling, and then you can just pop this down. So as I say, I'm going to leave a little bit more of a gap at the bottom than I did on the first one, and I've got my sentiment up there to gauge more or less where I want this to be. I'll pop it down there, like so. I mean, if you wanted to, you could have put the birthday up here and wishes down here, and then you could have moved it up a little bit more. But again, that's personal preference. That's totally up to you. So then we cut all our leaves and acorns and twigs, etc., etc. So this is the fun bit. This is where you get to decide what goes where and what you want it to look like. Now, these are the leaves from the large foliage set, and you can see that I've done different colours. The only reason I did orange was to sort of, because it was an autumnal card, really. And all I've done is I've added a little bit of red grapefruit with my stencil brush onto here, and it is literally as simple as, I'll show you. And it's just really to add a little bit of extra interest to these leaves. So I'm literally brushing up from the stem with that ink. It doesn't have to be precise. It can be as messy as you want it to be, really, because it's just an extra colour on top of the card that you've already cut your leaves out of. Okay, and then just to make that red sort of stand out a bit, I've just used one of my markers and just added some veins like that. And it's just so quick and easy, but it really does make a difference. It makes them stand out. It's our lovely Mary Thompson that I got this off. And I use it such a lot now. It's such a clever idea. Hasn't made an appearance today, Connie, has he? Okay, so I've done the same on the leaves that come in the set. So if I just show you the little acorn set. So these leaves here are these, and I cut those in green. But then what I did was I went over the green with the red grapefruit and a little bit of early sunrise. So again, I've used red grapefruit from the bottom. So I've gone up on here with red grapefruit, just with my stencil brush. And again, it's not precise, it's not pretty, but I think the overall effect, once you've finished, will sort of make you realise why I've done it, hopefully. And then I've gone with early sunrise, and I've come back in the other way. So the early sunrise meets that red grapefruit. I've not gone on top of the red grapefruit. I've just blended the two together. So I could have done with a little bit more red on there. But just come back with that early sunrise. And it just changes them up enough to make them sort of autumny colours as opposed to green colours. Okay, so now it's all about, where do you want things? Do you want to use again, these were cut in green, as you can see, and I've done exactly the same on there. I've gone up with red grapefruit. Didn't bother with the early sunrise coming back. I've just used red grapefruit and my marker pen. Now I can either use that there, and the only reason I've gone with these is just to take away that sort of space there. I didn't, because it was a bigger space on here, that's why I've used them on here. And I liked the effect, so I thought, well, I'll use them on here as well. So I'm going to put that one there. I could use the orange. I don't know yet. I'll have to think about that. And then all you're trying to do really is make your decoration look attractive, but hide this anchor. Okay. I don't think you can see all the comments. What are you watching on, Janet? Are you watching on YouTube or on Facebook? I apologise if you can hear my stomach rumbling. Right, so I'm just going to lay these out. There are 3 different leaves in this little set. You find the 3 different ones. That's the same. Where's the other one? There. So these 3 are all different. This is quite a large leaf, and then this is sort of, you've got 3 sizes coming down, but they're not hugely different, just different enough to make them stand out, if you like. So I'm just gonna mess around with this for a little while and just decide where I want everything, whether I want that orange leaves or the green leaves. And then this one is coming off here like that. And then there's another smaller one which I want here. I'll just slide that under there. And then I can go back and I can move it all and just put it down properly. And I'm using 3D glue gel with these. Okay. So that can go there. Now do you see what I mean about making it a little bit bigger, so that this piece here isn't hanging like this, is hanging off the edge of the card, so that when I put it in the envelope, it risks those little things getting creased and squashed. The foliage name, which one? This one. This is the large foliage set. I'm not sure if there's any in stock. There may be, but there's not going to be very many. So if you go and have a look, it'd be quick. But the other one is the From Little Acorns set. So most of it is from this, and then the other one is that one, the large foliage. Okay, so 2 sets that I've used of foliage on there. You know, looking on the screen, I actually like, I agree with you, I like the orange leaves. So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to go with that one. So I'm just roughly placing these. And these are my little branches that I've got my acorns on. Okay. And these are my little acorns. I love these. These are so cute. So, so cute. Now I've cut, you'll see on here, my colours are opposites. So I've got a lighter cap and then the nut part is sort of darker. And I know really it's the other way round. So on this card, they're sort of the right way round, if you like. But I didn't want to waste the darker parts. So I've used everything. So shall I go with that one or shall I go with that one? I think I might go with that one actually. Right. Let's put these down first. And like I say, I am using my 3D glue gel because I want these to sort of sit on the same level as this little panel here. So I'm just going to put my 3D glue gel onto these leaves. Just put that out of the way. And then these will just place. And the beauty of the 3D glue gel is that you do have a little bit more wiggle room than you do with the pads. I mean, I have lifted the pads before now and got away with it, but it's not ideal. But with the 3D glue gel, you do get a little bit more time. So I'm going to go there with that and then just maneuver those so that they're not in front of the sentiment, but they are sort of where I want them to be in there. Filling that little bit of a gap in there. Okay. Now, obviously, when you're placing things on top of where you've used 3D glue gel, you've got to use a little bit less pressure because you don't want to squash it down when you're adding the rest of your stuff. But it's really easy. So these are going to go on last, these leaves, and I am just going to shape them a little bit just to give them a little bit of a different look. I'm using 3 different ones. You don't have to, you could use 2 the same and 1 different one, whatever you think. Or you could use 3 larger leaves, totally up to you. So, where's my big branch? This big branch here is going to go, what's this one? Is going to go here because it's come across here. Can you hear a phone ringing? Or is it just me? Am I the only one that can hear it? I'm going to ignore it. Right, so my little branch here is going to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to just blend over into the other side of this panel, okay? But again, 3D glue gel because I want it all to sit proud. But I don't need as much on these because they're only tiny leaves. So just pop these down. And then as you're going along, you can fiddle around with all the sort of the filling in bits so that they go where you want them to go. Okay, so that's going there. And then when I've done everything, I'm going to come along and add some little red berries onto some of these branches. So we decided to go with that one, didn't we? I'm just going to cut the end of that down because I don't want these poking out where they shouldn't. I'm just going to come down here with this so that this comes off this page here. So again, 3D glue. Oh, you're still there. We've gone. The sound disappeared. That's probably because the phone was ringing. I have turned my sound off on my phone, but I've got some earphones that I'm using and I can hear it ringing, so that's probably why the sound went. So apologies for that. Okay, I'm just going to pop this down here. like so. And all I'd say is when you're doing stuff like this, just remember your panel is your focal point, but you don't want to just put your stuff onto your panel. You want it to sort of flow off that panel as well, just to give you some interest on that card. Okay, my opinion. You might not necessarily agree with me, but so I'm going to pop this one down here just so that that one is done, and then I can work the rest around it. I'm only putting my glue down the middle because I've shaped this leaf to sit on the card and hopefully look a little bit more realistic. I'm going to pop that there, and you can see now that that anchor is being well and truly hidden by everything else. Okay, so never worry about using something that isn't meant to be used for what you're using it for, because it really doesn't matter. I think I'm actually going to go with another big leaf, which I'm going to come over here. Then I'm going to put my acorns in, and I'm going to add that last leaf in there. Okay, so again, back with my 3D glue gel. Oh, Lorraine, it wouldn't do that. It wouldn't do that. Okay, so I'm going to pop that there, like so. And I do think this is more male. To me, it looks more of a male card than the first one that I did. So I'm pleased with that. So this again is another large leaf, which I do think will go there. But I'm going to put some of the acorns down first. Now there's a larger one and a smaller one. If I show you the smaller one, you'll see the difference in the size. Can you see that? They are quite different in size. Not hugely, but you can tell that there's a large one and a small one. And I'm going to just stick them to the branch, and then I'm going to position the branch so that the acorns hide this little white piece down here. No, I don't want that glue, I want that glue. So let's put my glue on the end of the branch here, and then I can add my acorn onto the end of the branch. Now, it doesn't matter whether it sits, the stem of the acorn doesn't necessarily have to sit on the actual branch part. You see on mine there, see my little stem of the acorn hood doesn't actually line up with the branch, and I think it looks better that way. Because if you try and line it up, a little bit out of focus, isn't it? If you try and line it up, I just don't think it would look right. So don't bother. So then I'm going to pop that under there. I am going to just put that off because it's catching on the glue under the leaves. Now it's stuck to my finger. Don't you just love live demos? They never go right, do they? Okay, so put a bit of 3D glue gel on the back, and then I can place those and then work the others round them. Do you know what I mean? Because all I'm trying to do now is fill in those little gaps. Okay, so those little acorns can come there, and then this one can go on the middle so that it's hiding that little bit of a gap there, like so. And it just looks like a little bunch of acorns on the end of the branch. Okay, just put my leaf in place so that I know where it's going to be. Come around there, like that. So I need another couple down here. So I'll do the other branch. There's a longer branch and a shorter branch on these for these acorns. So this one is shorter than this one. I'm going to use the short ones because it just is easier to fit in there. And stick these to the end. I'll use the larger one, and then I can use the small one. And the blue one. A little mental block then, didn't know what I was doing. Pop that on there. And then take one of the smaller ones and pop it on the other side. And then I can lift it up and decide where it's going to go. So if that goes in there, then I can just put another little acorn on there to hide that little bit of a gap. So I'm just going to chop that down, tiny weeny bit, put my 3D glue gel on the back, and then pop that into place just under that leaf there. I haven't put this one down properly yet, so I've got some manoeuvrability. And I can put this one down and then decide whether I need another acorn. I probably don't, actually. Let's put this one down. Oh, it's out of stock, is it? I'm not surprised, to be honest. It is. It's one of the very early die sets. What number was it? 32. I'm on 200 and something now, so it was very, very early on. Okay, so I'll just pop that on there. I don't think I need another acorn. I'm just going to move that around a little bit. Okay, don't think I need another acorn. Debating whether to put another leaf under there. I think I will. See, this is the beauty of just playing. You can sort of look at something, have a mess around with it, and then when you come to actually put it down properly, you might change it completely. Got hair in there. Okay. So I'm just going to slide that under that. Like so. Lift that up a little bit. And then all I've got to do is just add in those little berries. Now the berries come attached to one of the leaves. You can see here, the berries look as though they're separate. They do cut out separate, but they're part of this leaf die. And it is a really small die. So because I was worried about losing it, I've left it attached to this. So every time I cut green leaves, I get green berries. So all I've done with the berries is I've just used my red marker and I've just coloured the green card red, so that I've got little red berries instead of green ones. So then all I'm going to do is just add a little bit of glue onto the ends of these little ones here. I think I've got 5, but do 4 for now. I'm going to get rid of that cat hair and pop that on the end. Now, I don't want to press down too hard because I don't want to squash my leaves, but because I'm using Lisa's glue, I know that they will stick. So don't worry about it too much. Again, this is one of those cards. Don't try and make it when you need a card in a hurry. Because of the 3D glue gel, it won't be ready in a hurry. So do this one in advance. Okay. I've got one little set of berries left, which I could use, but I'm not going to. I might actually put them up there, just in the middle. just to use them really. There, like so. So you would never think there was an anchor on that panel unless you knew, obviously. And it's a very, I think it looks a very different card to the one that I prepped. Get them both in shot for you. But I just think it proves that whatever you've got in your stash, you can make it work however you want it to work. That panel for me just makes that card. And I've used particularly the two sets, the Anchors Aweigh and the Little Acorn from Little Acorns. You would never normally just look at those two sets and think, oh, I'll put those two together, because they don't look like they'll go together, but they do. And the same can be said for the majority of Lisa's die sets and stencils and whatever. Whatever you've got will work with whatever you've got or whatever you buy in the future. So just look at your stash and look at it in a different way. So your challenge for this week is to go away, find 3 pieces of stash that you've got from Lisa that you wouldn't ordinarily put together and make a card. And I want to see them all in the group. That's just me being, go away and do it. So I apologise for the quality of the video, the live. I'm not quite sure what's going on with my computer and my camera, but I promise I will try and get it sorted for next week. It worked perfectly yesterday when I tested it with Lisa. It looked amazing. It was brilliant. And then today it just didn't want to know. So hey ho. So I will love you and leave you there. No Claire tomorrow. She's away this week, and I'm not sure whether she's had time to do any videos, so I don't think there'll be a video either. But don't forget, Lisa's on tonight at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I'm not sure if Dawn's doing 2 o'clock. I can't remember what Lisa said, but worth a look just in case she is. So I hope you get what you want, and I will see you around at Lisa's place on Friday at 7 o'clock as per usual. So have a fabulous week, everybody, and I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for joining me.